America's fascist decline under the Trump administration continues at a worrying pace. Just this past week, we have several announcements that, even as a Canadian, just make me feel not hopeless. I never want to feel hopeless, but very worried, very concerned, and kind of like, how are we gonna dig our way out of this? Because even though I'm not an American, what happens in America, given their stature on the global political scene, and especially as their direct neighbor, it affects everybody in the world, but especially us Canadians as well. If America goes into a fascist decline, that's not good for us. And of course, I care about my American brothers and sisters as well. And so Trump, a few days ago, came out and said he's placing the Washington police under federal control. This is kind of mirroring what was happening in Los Angeles. It's a bit of a different legal procedure. This one, technically, he has a little more legal authority to do, but when you look at crime statistics in Washington, when you hear from locals, it seems like this is a huge overreach in power. There's video clips of him from a few months ago talking about how crime is going down in Washington, and now all of a sudden he's saying crime is so out of control that he needs to federalize the police. Clearly, it's just a play for power. Clearly, it's him extending his reach in these big American cities, just wanting to increase his own power share. It's scary. It's something that, it's a little slow moving in the sense that he's not doing this in every city, but given what happened in LA, given this, and given his comments about other cities like Baltimore, Oakland, NYC, Chicago, he clearly wants to do this in more cities, especially blue cities. And it's definitely a worrying sign when you pair that with, just the other week he fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because the numbers weren't to his liking. Then he goes ahead and removes the IRS commissioner because apparently the IRS commissioner was refusing to give tax information about immigrants to the Trump administration. And clearly they wanted to use that information to aid the ongoing ICE operations, which are rounding up tens of thousands of people, many of them innocent. Of course, if you're in the MAGA base, you're going to say no illegal immigrant is innocent. Personally, I think that's bullshit. If someone has been in the country for decades, is a good citizen, paying their taxes, doing hard work, good family person, good neighbor, you really think that it's just to, throw them into a concentration camp in El Salvador or an alligator Alcatraz or any of these other disgusting facilities just because, they didn't go through the proper legal procedure? I think that is blasphemy. I think that, you kind of are just admitting that your morality is very far gone. You clearly don't have empathy for other human beings. I think it's gross. And, this guy just refused to give over some information. Trump's like, you're gone. So he continues not getting rid of the deep state, but re-rigging the deep state in his own favor. Then there's everything that's happening at the Smithsonian, where basically they keep putting pressure on the Smithsonian to make sure that their exhibits are kind of in line with Trump and MAGA's view. There's just so much going on. You pair this with what's been happening with the tariffs, where there was stories recently that Trump was using and abusing them to kind of help his corporate allies. Now, that's not surprising. Someone like myself kind of saw that from a mile away, but we got official confirmation that that is true. There's what's happening in terms of their support for Gaza, which, sure, it's kind of a continuation of the Biden policy, but it's getting worse and worse. Netanyahu is now admitting he wants to annex Gaza, that he wants to see a greater Israel, which includes territory in countries like Syria, Jordan, parts of Egypt, Lebanon. I mean, this colonial occupation expansionist government in Israel is feeling more brazen than ever because of their support from the Trump administration. There's just so much going on, it's hard to keep track of, just deregulating everything, letting corporations run amok, enriching himself with all these scams. What's happening is pretty crazy, and we're only 6 or 7 months into this administration. It's pretty scary to think, where can this go, given even more time? And it's something that honestly anybody should be worried about, unless you're a hardcore MAGA cultist who's too far gone to see what's really happening. Where this is going is majorly concerning. You look at what's happening with Trump pressuring the Texas Republicans to gerrymander districts further to kind of give him more seats in the upcoming elections. And the way that the map is kind of laid out, not just in Texas, but other states, if he pressures other red states to do the same, they kind of have more power to take more seats than even if Democrats respond in states like California and do the same thing. They just can't compete with Republicans on this stuff, given the states that Republicans have power where Democrats have power and the number of seats they even could take. The Republicans have a built-in advantage. They're redoing the census at, usually it's done every decade, but they're kind of doing it halfway through in order to, again, kind of help rig the upcoming elections in their favor, because Trump and his administration are becoming more and more unpopular. But instead of responding to that by changing their policies, they're responding to that by trying to rig the upcoming elections, the upcoming midterms, and then 2028 in their favor. It's classic authoritarian, far-right, fascist, dictator-like stuff. It's just getting worse and worse, and America is steeply in decline.